And WNST.net. We are somehow
cold.
Moose out front should have told you it was cold here. Luke Jones joining us, Chris Pika joining us, and hopefully out on Facebook Live and welcoming in some new sponsors here this week. But, Chris, for all the pomp and circumstance, they're going to play a football game here, and it's a good thing they built an indoor facility because it was 12 degrees when we landed today.
Welcome to the bold north, and you're going to be hearing a lot of that this week, and unlike running away from it, like they said, they're leaning into it this week. This is all about outdoor events, outdoor everything else, and the weather is going to be super cold, and yes, we're lucky that on Sunday it's indoors and nice 68, 70-degree weather, and should be another great Super Bowl week.
And people watching, Luke Jones. People
Absolutely.
watching.
I'm at a mall.
Luke's
my
off
goodness.
camera over here, and if I move the camera, it'll screw everything up. But Luke's over here.
I don't know if anyone. Yeah.
Over here. But Luke has the view of the mall. And
you should at least shoot back.
I have a bake shop, and I have a non-sponsored place that sells burgers and milkshakes,
and a non-sponsored liquor shop just a little bit up the street here.
No, that could come in handy.
I'm going to plug this place, Beef Jerky Experience, only here at the Great Mall of America.
Yep.
I need the.
Can you make your own jerky there?
I have not walked in there. I've been next door to the liquor shop. I have not been in there yet.
You can definitely get a beef jerky bowl, but such is the scene. We're at the Mall of America. Behind me, you can see the maybe every once in a while the roller coaster, the pirate ship will go up. Over Chris Pika's shoulder is the front of the game program from something that happened as we're taping this 17 years ago to the day, Super Bowl 35, and a victory. So
I heard that one was good.
It was good. Had a happy ending. I liked that ending a lot. Yes. So Luke and Chris are here, and we're going to play football, and the Eagles fans aren't going to get here till later on in the week. And you want to bag on the Pro Bowl, or we just want to skip that this year? Just go right to the heart of the matter.
Wait, they're playing that still?
They still play the Pro Bowl. I saw Eric Weddle on Twitter.
I think I may have seen 1 second more of the skills competition than I did of the actual, even think about watching.
Can I ask you, and I don't mean to be crass, you worked in the league give everybody your credentials. You worked for the Saints, worked for the Falcons, did a variety of things. So, I'm not asking someone that hasn't sat at a league meeting or inside, why do they still play that? The players don't want to play, people don't want to watch. Are they really making money on that game? Maybe the answer is absolutely. That thing makes $14 million, and does it or does it not?
I think it does. I think it does. The league wouldn't do this unless there was some benefit to the league as a whole.
Who is the advocate, though? I'm just wondering, literally, when they put the big bubble in, if the commissioner's really listening, he's like, all right, well, TV, we can make a little money, great, but we could skip that. Is there any team that likes it? Is there any player that likes it? Is there any agent that likes it? Other than maybe their player gets a $75,000 bonus.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a big reason why some of these guys, still do it because they're.
But it's not that much money if you're making, a lot of money, and that's why the star players don't play.
And it's a vacation too. Whether it's
Hawaii
Honolulu, Orlando's still. That's still an attraction.
Drew Brees is playing this game. He's
Eric
got
Weddle's kids have been running around this week.
Brees' kids are ball boys for the NFC. There's, you take it for what it is. Listen, I almost rather see them play 7-on-7. Like colleges do in the summer.
That didn't work out for Robert Edwards on the beach.
No, you're right. You're right.
That sucked for him.
Totally.
But that was a generation ago. We're still playing a stupid game. I know that didn't happen in the stupid game.
Right.
It happened in the stupid stuff around the game, but it still happened. And
well, remember for years, of course, you'd have to be of a certain age to remember this, but the NFL held what was called the Playoff Bowl from 1960 to 1969. Third place game at the L.A. Coliseum or the Orange Bowl. And the Colts played in that game 3 times in that decade. So the league's always going to find a way to play an additional game. It keeps the interest up prior, and people, let's put it this way, more people will probably watch the Pro Bowl than will watch the NHL. I hate to even call that an all-star game, the way what they're doing with their format.
I thought you were going to say the Royal Rumble, and I was going to get really mad at you.
No.
Which they will.
Right. But think about that. It's more people going to watch that than the NHL game.
We've messed the Grammys up now. How did the Grammys wind up this week? Right?
I never know when the Grammys are anyways.
No. We have never been at a Super Bowl where we missed the Grammys, right?
I can't remember.
No, I mean, that just doesn't happen.
never watched the Grammys.
Pike is a music guy. He listens to Marshall Crenshaw.
You could be a music guy without watching the Grammys, though.
Way cooler than I thought he was.
Yeah. I mean, the Grammys are a lot of, I mean, basically it's, super popular music. There's not, when they start doing, true heavy metal categories and letting, those bands get up on stage, I mean, then we got a little something going on.
Something like that.
Something.
Anyway.
I can't believe we started off talking about the Pro Bowl.
Every year we promise,
kind of, every year we tell ourselves we're not going to talk about the Pro Bowl.
But this is more of a this was more of a drive-by this year. We didn't spend. I think we spent like 15 minutes on it last year. So this was a drive-by.
Well, we're testing everything,
right,
including the no sound we have on the internet right now. Chris Pika joining us here.
Perfect.
And look, it's fine, man. It's just we're. This is the warm-up round before we get going here.
This is a soft opening.
It is.
Let's talk about the scene here because this will be part of what we talk about all week. I'm sure we'll have celebrities at the table. I've already booked a dozen Hall of Famers to literally sit in the middle of the biggest mall in America, the Mall of America, at the Super Bowl. This is going to be a whole different kind of thing here. And at some point, and it won't be in this segment, maybe a little later on, I'm going to tell the story of the first Super Bowl I ever attended, which was here in 1992. And, I
was 9.
Wow. I was 10, 11. We didn't have Uber back then. We didn't have the internet back then. You know what? We had the Mall of America, but the Met Center was still here.
Right,
the hockey facility.
Where the North Stars
where they shot, by the way, a kid your age would remember the Mighty Ducks.
Absolutely.
Mighty Ducks, Mike Madonna.
Classic.
Mighty Ducks were shot in the Met Center. So
that's right.
A lot of
where a very large big box furniture store now sits outside the north entrance here.
Oh, that is.
Yes.
The Swedish.
Yes.
The thing with the meatballs.
That's correct.
Right.
Correct. Yes.
I know. That was where the Met Center was.
Yes.
Well, that's hallowed ground because I actually was there many, many moons ago. But I'll tell that story. But the mall idea and doing this and moving things around, and I think most of Middle America still looks at this and says, why in the world are they having a Super Bowl in Minnesota? I just think, people that don't understand the amount of money tied to it or the machinations of, well, they built a stadium for $1.3 billion.
Correct.
So the league could play football here. The give is you get a Super Bowl. You get a Super Bowl.
Right. I mean, for the most part, most of the new facilities have gotten that in their second year. And, listen, this is a completely different setup where you don't have as many maybe hotel rooms in downtown Minneapolis. Right. Most everything is out here. The two team hotels are attached to the mall, so all of the media availabilities are in this building, so you don't have to go outside in weather that's going to be very, very cold this week. So there's a lot of advantages to having this here, and one of the sort of unique things, which we've never had, is what you see around you. Is that we're in a large space with hundreds and thousands of people go through every day, and it's sort of the petting zoo. We're just sort of sitting here, and everybody's kind of watching us and watching the other radio stations and media organizations, and NFL fans will be out here. But I mean, we're so separated from the NFL experience, which is downtown at the Convention Center in Minneapolis. And the NFL's also tried in situations
Have
where
you mentioned that it's 10 degrees outside?
I have not. Well, I did say it was cold. I did say it would be very cold this week.
Well, I'm just saying it's literally 10 degrees outside, and there's a foot of snow. Would you say foot, 8 inches, 10 inches? I mean,
somewhere
there's
around
snow.
there.
There's a bunch of snow.
I mean, all the roads are clear. I mean, they do a great job with snow removal here. I mean, I would hope so.
Yep.
But, yeah, there's snow on the ground.
We are live in Norway right now here.
Iceland.
Bloomington, Minnesota. We're at the Mall of America. Chris Pika joining us here. Luke joining us here. Sort of doing a little testing, dipping our toe in the water as to what we're going to have around here. The weird part, I think, for the people that do morning radio is that there won't be anybody in here. We're literally...
Oh, no, you'll see people in here early in the morning.
Because it's a place to walk, right?
Right, it's a mall walkers, yes. That's correct. Yes.
It's a warm
exercise.
I bet people jog through here at 6 in the morning, right?
We've seen here early the other day. There was a lot of people. Yeah,
I know one thing, man. I am not hurting for burgers, for coffee, although I wish our dear partners at Royal Farms would bring me some coffee. By the way, can I give a shout out? We have 5 new sponsors this week. I'm making a major announcement on Friday with a blog. And, somebody gave me a raft of manure, and when I don't have an FCC license anymore, I'll use the S word about this, that Steve Bisciotti's having a little press conference. Have you heard that Steve Bisciotti's having a press conference?
I've heard that.
Yes. And when is that press conference?
That is Friday afternoon.
Who is the most savvy PR guy that you know in the universe that probably would know a few things about. So, Chris, if I were having a press conference that I didn't want to have in the calendar year, other than having it like George Steinbrenner in midnight somewhere in a parking lot, if I were calling a press conference, when would be the ideal time to call a press conference that I didn't really want to call, to say I had a press conference, to say, sorry you couldn't make it? When would you do that, Chris?
Friday before the Super Bowl.
And about what time?
Oh, probably mid-afternoon.
Maybe 1:30?
Yeah,
Let's say 1:30.
Probably, yeah.
All right, let's say 1:30.
Yeah.
As I drink from my Pizza John's cup. There you go. New sponsor.
There you go.
What?
Pizza
You're
John's.
looking at me. You're looking at me funny.
I wish there were.
That is a Pizza John's. That's legitimate. I got that on Saturday.
We just got
with
here,
my
and
wife.
I'm already homesick for Pizza John's.
You're in a food court, but nothing's going to be as good as this.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely.
I had to eat the whole half of pizza because I couldn't have leftovers.
That's right, because you're leaving.
Because I was leaving. So, like, my wife looks at me, she's like, you're not going to eat the third piece, are you? I'm like, I'm going to eat the fourth piece because – and I put the pizza. So, anyway, so Bisciotti's having his press conference on Friday. I'm making a big announcement on Friday about the future of the company and my blog and my radio show and the station. And no, Luke's not going anywhere. Luke's mom.
Sorry to disappoint everyone.
Yeah, I know. Luke's still going to be here. Everything's fine there. But I'm making a major life announcement and a direction that I've decided I want to go with my life and what I want to do with this and radio and video and all that kind of stuff. So a guy says, well, you're down on Bisciotti for having a press conference on Friday. Why are you making – it must be bad news if you're announcing it on Friday. I said, no.
I was going to say, what aren't you telling me?
I'm going to announce it Friday morning. I'm going to announce it Friday morning, not Friday afternoon. So – Chris, I'm going to give you, at the risk of you alienating Kevin Byrne or alienating Chad Steele more than he already hates me, give me your temperature. And you're a bit of a closet Ravens fan, even though you work for the Saints and you work for the Falcons. You're a Baltimore guy. You're a big Oriole fan. And Luke's really happy because the Internet's working right now.
Finally.
Yes. You're in a mall. It's 2018. Super Bowl's here. The Internet's going to work at some point.
At some point.
You just have to figure out when that is. So, really, give our audience a little back room on this because, to me, I don't like the way it smells for them, and I don't hate them. I like them. I like Steve. I like Kevin. I like I like John. I like Ozzy. I like that when they win. I like that I'm at the Super Bowl. I like parades. I like Joe Flacco. I'm good with all that. But what are you doing? I mean, I really, what are you doing? I mean, the fans, and I don't side with the pissed off fans. I've been very clear that I'm not angry. I'm not a kneeler. They're going to get my check when the bill for $1,800 and some change comes next month. They're going to get my check. But I'm also very connected to people, and there are a lot of really pissed off people. And I don't know what to say to them to quell them or fix them, and I don't know what he's going to say, but the optics of a Friday 1:30 press conference this year, Steve,
well,
dude,
there's
my
also,
man,
right,
I love you, but
right.
what are you doing?
But there's also another part of that. It's not only a 1:30 press conference, and that's why I also think we're not going to see any sort of major
Ray Lewis is going into the Hall of Fame the next day.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he's going to upstage that.
If you're trying to have your message amplified because it's important that you have your message as the owner amplified to the fans, that I am here, I do hear you, I know you're pissed, can't make you unpissed, but I'm trying to make my football team good.
Right.
If that is your message, and that's a great message, I mean, and I expect Steve to be the Steve we've seen before, which is a little defiant, a little flippant, a little painfully honest. Like honest to the core of maybe offensive, maybe rub some people the wrong way with tone. I get all that with Steve, but I do believe Steve has everything in his heart to win and want to do the right thing and want to even do the right thing by calling Kaepernick from a social justice standpoint, but doesn't have the collateral clearly in Baltimore to do that. And now these people who are pissed off, who've been writing a check for 22 years, I don't know what they want. I'm not getting that back on the Facebook thread of, I want Steve to say, I'm sorry, it was a horrible thing my employees did. I don't think Steve believes that. I don't think he's going to say that. And I don't know what, but you can't say it at 1:30 on a Friday, the day before Ray Lewis goes into the Hall of Fame, and have me, as a season ticket holder, as a guy who Steve's in my phone, take it and say that that was a good strategy for the people who are pissed off? Because I don't think it is.
There's two ways to look at it. The club will tell you that we made the ultimate decision maker available to the media. Regardless of what time it is, we're in a 24/7 media world, so Friday doesn't matter. Friday before the Super Bowl doesn't matter. We've made him available. You've got an opportunity to talk to the owner for 45 to 50 minutes. Ask him whatever you want. He's the ultimate decision maker. You have that available. Because Dick Cass would take some questions about some of the off-field things that he's had some opinions on. You've got.
I think anything could happen Friday. He could say, "I'm selling the football team."
I don't see that.
He could say,
"I don't see that."
I thought that initially he would not do that 24 hours before Ray Lewis, who Steve Bisciotti adores, and that goes way beyond an owner-player typical relationship, even a Hall of Fame player. I don't see any way that he would.
I just don't know what the strategy is. Like you said, it's 2 weeks late. It's a Friday afternoon. I mean, dare I say, it looks like he's hiding, but like, I mean, if you're having a press conference on a Friday before the Super Bowl at 1:30,
or is there some? And I'm not saying I agree. I agree with a lot of the points you're making.
That's the optics of it.
Or do you say, well, we don't think this is as big of a deal as everyone else is making it out to be?
That the stadium's half empty?
Well, no, I mean as far as
to me, that's the
overall
story.
Well,
maybe to you the story is who's going to play, who's going to be the running back next year or whatever. I mean,
aren't they tied together? Not everyone who's ticked off about the organization and not going to games are solely ticked off about the anthem protest.
Is it the chronic losing? I mean, that's garbage, dude. Like, I mean,
okay, but
you want chronic losing? I'll show you the Cleveland table over there and the Jacksonville table.
No one's saying chronic losing.
But I mean,
they've missed the playoffs 4 out of 5 years. Okay, when did that become acceptable here in town?
It's not acceptable, but it's also when does that become? By the way, you're very animated. I wish you were here right now.
But you're making it out to be that everyone should just be totally happy with a team that's just been okay, and
I'm going to be sick of you by Friday.
Okay, let me just take a deep breath for a second, because I didn't mean to. My point is, there are plenty of reasons to be concerned about this football team that aren't necessarily tied into the knee or even attendance. If you're just a fan.
But where does it fall to the owner? Do you want Ozzie fired, Eric, John, all the above, Flacco thrown out?
You keep taking it to this extreme level. No, I'm not saying
what do you want the owner to say? I guess what's going to happen on Friday at 1:30?
Okay, we could say this, though, but then
the only question I have is, Steve, is half of your fans are gone. What are you guys doing about that? Like, to me, everything else, I know what he's doing about football. Ozzie's in charge. He's been in charge 22 years.
Why isn't Ozzie answering questions? Steve, why isn't your general manager answering questions?
Okay, fair enough. Good.
I mean, I'm just saying. Like,
that's good. You took me back. That's
again,
you caught me flat-footed.
And you know very well that I am not someone who's been endorsing to blow everything up. I don't think that this organization is broken beyond repair. At the same time, Nor
do I think they're broken to the point where people should say, I'm not giving them my money anymore or going to the games anymore. I mean,
again, the state of the Ravens is not solely for the people who aren't going to games anymore, who are tuning out. There are lots of people who still love the team, who are still going to games, and are concerned about the fact that they continue to not build around a franchise quarterback who's not getting any younger. They're concerned about the fact that they're up against the cap every single year, yet their roster hasn't been dynamic enough to really make you think they're a championship caliber team. These are all very fair issues that they need to be accountable for. That doesn't mean I think everyone should be fired. But my point is, just because people want to hear from the owner and want to hear answers and are frustrated, that doesn't mean that they're going off the handle either and saying, blow it up, tear the stadium down, move out of town.
Well, this is a completely unique thing, Luke. By the way, we're on Radio Row. We're at the Mall of America. I'm going to turn this to Chris because I really want to hear Chris. By the way, Howard Bank is on with us, and I'm just – literally, I'm reading, and you're going to hear so much about Howard Bank because they're sponsoring us, and I'm going to be talking more about this beginning on Friday, by the way. A relentless commitment to being the best at everything they do. Branches now throughout Baltimore and in Maryland, a unique hands-on approach to banking. And I know Marianne, Wade, all my friends at Howard Bank, Chris, April, they're here. I got the Howard Bank hat. I'm rocking that this week. They're sponsoring everything we're doing here at Radio Row. And everybody over there is empowered to help you out. You can go see them at howardbank.com. We're going to be telling you more about them as well as Royal Farms, real fresh, real fast. Coffee that I don't have here, although I do have my Pizza John's cup. The best fried chicken in town. You can't get that at the Mall of America. And gas up, pick up some snacks. Real fresh, real fast. It is Royal Farms and, of course, Pizza John's as well. The Maryland Jockey Club's on. I'm going to talk about Laurel and Pimlico and all that stuff in a minute. But, Chris, I want to bring this to you because I am the unique media guy that owns a company that sells advertising, that understands how the sausage is made enough. You're one of the unique human beings that's ever worked inside a franchise in a unique position where you touched a lot of football and you touched the business. And that's not everybody does that.
Right.
And you touched the media, and part of the media was the business and the sponsors and all that. And you did it in two places where they're always trying to figure it out. New Orleans and Atlanta, where together when you worked there, they had 100 years of combined, never winning a Super Bowl until New Orleans won one recently. And Atlanta almost won one last year. How much inside of that building right now, and I'm the sports guy. I'm not discounting winning and finding wide receivers and all of that. This is a unique, cataclysmic, earthquake thing that's happened to this franchise after 22 years of never even knowing how to sell a ticket, never having to buy an ad anywhere to sell a ticket, ever, for 22 years. I don't know that you can find most businesses. Find me a steakhouse that's had a line out the door for 22 years. Find me anything. Find me any business that has done that for 20. Apple hasn't done that for 22 years. All the Googles didn't exist 22. I mean, so think about 22 years, and now the water isn't just a little choppy, and they're not 3-13. And God forbid they were, and God forbid this year it all goes to hell. And that would be the real radar here of some people coming back and Steve doing whatever that mea culpa would be. But how much of this is about the million Raven fans out there who aren't coming to the stadium and the 30,000 who bought tickets and aren't coming to the stadium? Because to me, this organization, they can address football and they can talk about football all they want. They can't play football till September. They can't answer those questions to really solve any of those issues till they make it to the field. It's much like the Orioles when they started losing. They were bigger dicks in the offseason than they were in the season, and every year they'd swear next year that they signed Kevin Millwood and went and spent money on Tejada, and every year they said, we'll win and you'll come back, and you'll all be groveling. That's what they told me in 2006. And I really do worry for them because we don't have Fortune 500 companies, and all it takes is 5 or 6 or 8 Skybox owners to say you're not getting our $400,000 anymore, and there's $4 million gone. And then all of a sudden 30,000 people don't, and I don't know what the numbers are, but the numbers wouldn't be staggering to an NFL franchise when you do 20,000 tickets times $150 times 10 games. It's $20 million. It's not earth-shattering for a company that's worth allegedly $1.2 billion or whatever that number would be at this point. But Chris, for me, for this organization, everything in that building, winning, and the football side's great, but boy, they got a business issue there that they've never had before, and that, other than trying to sell PSLs 24 years ago.
And this may go to the heart of why there's a press conference on this particular Friday. This may be a situation, we talk a lot about football, we talk about the totality of a season, how you look at a year and say we were successful, weren't successful. How do you look at your coaches? How do you look at your players? That sort of self-scouting, if you will, goes on also on the business side. How much of the Ravens' business side, since the end of the season, sat down and really started to drill down and talking to their sponsors, talking to their season ticket holders, talking to other folks, trying to
Which they have done. I mean, Dick has called. I mean, they have talked to season ticket holders to some degree.
Right.
But the owner hasn't.
Right. But the owner is in the meetings with Dick Cass and other folks. And maybe part of the delay is they wanted to try to get a handle on what the demographics are of a lot of this. You know, is this...
Well, maybe if Steve will open the press conference on Friday and say, let me tell you why I'm a month later. And that's fine. Right. And that's good. I mean, and at every turn, I would give Steve the benefit of the doubt.
I'll hear him out on it. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm not... Yeah. Go ahead. Keep going.
So there may be a situation where your business side needs to take that time and go through some of that and maybe form some opinions, maybe form some action items, maybe form some things that you want to do. You know, the Ravens have done what every other year they've done their ticket increases. I think
every
it's been
other
like almost
three,
every 2 or 3. Okay,
and they have all of that. They have all that organized, ahead of time.
Right. So a lot of that. So maybe you've got to think about some of the things that you want to do for fans. What is it you need to communicate to the fan base? What is it that Steve Bisciotti ultimately believes? And some of that is maybe not something he was ready to address in the week after a disappointing end of the season, where your emotions are high in the building. You've lost. You've missed the playoffs. It's got to be disappointing and hurtful to everybody from the owner down to the bottom people in the front office.
I think it would have been better for me if they just would have said on the Wednesday after, Steve's going to do this on 4 weeks from look, man, I'm not the coddled media guy, and I'm not going to be there Friday. And if I were there, I'd get one question. It would be the 16th question, and it would be whatever's left over after the first 15. Right? I mean, I'm not barking about that part of it. And again, I'm not even barking on my behalf. I'm barking on behalf of the pissed off guys sitting behind me that are chirping the chirp, and I'm on point of not agreeing with anything about the people who are taking the piss on the knee. So I am on the opposite side politically of that. So that's not my rub. My rub is you better speak to these people.
Right.
Because I don't agree with them. And I know, C.J. Mosley, Ladarius Webb, Terrell Suggs doesn't agree with them either. But these are the people who have the checkbook, and you better figure out to have somebody else in that seat. When the Orioles told me to F off and stop coming to the games, they just thought somebody else would come and sit in that seat. They haven't. And I'm not saying the Ravens are saying that, thinking that, doing that, but I've never seen a climate, a political climate, and anger at a football team and you can take the football anger of it and say, well, they haven't made the playoffs in 3 years, and I would say, but they're not the Browns. And
okay, but we keep going at extremes here. I mean, Joe Flacco's not the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL, but he's not the worst either. Okay, well, where does he fall? They've been a mediocre franchise for 5 years, and after having so much success for such a long time. Look, I've said it to you numerous times. I've gone on the record, and people can get ticked off at me if they want. This town has been more than spoiled when it comes to the Ravens over the course of 20-plus years. 2 Super Bowls over a 12-year period.
Dude, I wrote 20,000 words about it last month.
Now, that said, when you have had success at that level, just like the New York Yankees, which are the standard in any professional sport here in America, there are higher expectations. And when you don't meet them, the solution isn't just to say, well, we've been really good for a really long time. The solution is to say, we haven't been as successful as we've been. We still have faith in our people, but these are the things we need to do better. And, for example, I've said it over and over, and this isn't – you mentioned about we're not going to know until they get on the field. I was writing and talking about it throughout the spring and the summer. Why was this football team not addressing its offense? And I wasn't the only one. I'm not a genius in pointing that out. Lots of people felt that way. So I think a lot of this from a football standpoint is clearly you guys have been kind of going down the same path the last 4 or 5 years, and the results really haven't been there. Even the 1 year that you did make the playoffs, did win a playoff game, you were 10-6 and needed the Kansas City Chiefs to beat, San Diego, I think it was, Week 17, just to get in. So you haven't been this 12-4, 11-5 juggernaut that you were for the first half of John Harbaugh's era. That's fine. What are you doing differently? Or are you is it continuity? Or are you slipping into complacency, which I think that is a perception that's there when you're not making wholesale changes and you're leaving Marty Morningwig in place.
So he's pissed about all the football stuff.
Right.
The other people are pissed about the upper deck. And now they're having a 1:30 Friday press conference, which goes back to the root of the beginning of this. All of this, all these issues have existed the minute they got eliminated.
Right.
Now, a month later, we want to hear from the owner.
Right. Here's
go ahead, Chris.
My point is twofold. One is Steve has done 2 things, at least from what I've been able to read and hear and see. He has people in place and I'm talking football side right now. He has people in place who he trusts on the football side complicitly. Ozzie, DeCosta, all of those people down to the coaching staff.
They've been there 15 years. All
correct, right. All that he trusts implicitly. and he listens. He's not an owner like some in the league who just shoot off their mouth. He wants to hear from those people.
Yeah, he's got about 10 really smart people in there, and he's going to hear from all of them.
Now let's turn it to the other side. For the first time in 22 years, Steve has to turn to the business side now, to the Dick Casses and the people who run marketing and the tickets. And he trusts them, they're in place. But how much listening has he done to them on the business side, because that's basically run very well.
But no team has a crisis management playbook for this. For this disaster.
What I'm saying is, it's a potential that the delay was because he wanted to sit down like he does with football, in drilling down really deeply. There's a very good possibility he wanted to do that on the business side so he could completely understand what his people are hearing, what their reactions have been, what they want to do going forward, so that when he walks into the press conference, he is as knowledgeable about the business, what they're having to deal with on the business side and the upper deck and all those issues, as much as he's got to be knowledgeable and on point about football. How much of that business side, and all owners touch it because it's his money.
There's never a point in a Steve Bisciotti press conference or in any conversation that I've ever had with him where he doesn't have an answer for something at a very, very high level. Whatever it is, whether it's football-related, business-related, league-related, TV-related, anytime I've ever spoken to him, he doesn't look disengaged from any part of it.
And part of that is preparation. Part of that is sitting with, and we all do it in PR. We all sit with the principals. They're going to be sitting in a room.
Part of that is he doesn't have a real job either.
Right,
part of that, he's not running a law firm down the street on the roof. He's just not. He's on his boat, and this is his hobby. This is his fun thing, and this is what he does.
But you're going to sit in a room with your principal. If you're any good PR director, you're going to sit with the room, and I'm going to have a list of 15 questions you're probably going to be asked. And you're going to do a practice run, and what are you going to say about X? What are you going to say about Y? What are you going to say about Z? You never let your guy walk out on stage to a press conference like that without some preparation and going over the key issues to make sure that your messaging is what you want it to be. And if you hear something that's off or something that's not right, you go back.
Well, these are all competitive people. He wants to win the press conference.
Right. But you have to prepare to win the press conference. And so in this time period where you're trying to look at all of the business issues they've had, and he's going to be asked a lot about it.
It'd be very interesting to come in to see what his bullet points are on Friday, because we know what our questions.
He knows what the questions are going to be because they're prepped.
Sure. And keep in mind, he's going to be by himself. The only time, to my knowledge, that he's ever spoken by himself to the media was after the ESPN
I don't think this is a bad thing either in any direction.
So he has to, just to finish, to piggyback on what you said from a business standpoint, he's got to be prepped from the same standpoint from a football standpoint,
what I mean.
Because he's not going to have Ozzie next to him. He's not going to have John next to him, which I think there's some way of looking at this where, and Steve's always been candid, but do we see an even blunter version of Steve Bisciotti with Ozzie and John not being right next to him?
He shines in his own environment alone. And beyond that, there have been many years where somebody gets up and asks a question of John, and I'm like, why are you asking John a question?
I don't need to see.
I see John.
I have no issue with John not being at this press conference. I do have issue with Dick Cass and Ozzie not being.
Maybe that comes the following week, but then again, make that announcement now.
Well, and that's the point.
What is your plan? That as the guy who has a microphone and takes questions and has a media company, and just what's your plan? I'm a season ticket holder. That's the other thing on Friday. They bring the media in, and I was thinking about this, and I don't want to be flippant or be a dick to any of my media compadres, but how many people in that room have season tickets? I'm the only one that I know of that buys tickets, that in the media, the 30 people that will ask questions on Friday, of which Luke and I are not two of them because we're not there. How many of the people are actually write a check to the Ravens? You know what I mean? I think this isn't really about the media or football. For me, this is about the people writing a check to the Ravens. That's what this particular press conference is about, because they've had 30,000. They've never had to do that before. It's always been about the greater good and the million people and our stakeholders, which would mean somebody that had a Raven hat. That's the word they use, stakeholders. This isn't about stakeholders. This is about the people that are getting thousands of dollars of paper bills for tickets that they burned 3 months ago.
Right.
And
I think
that's a different place to be.
And I think that's where you've got to take time on the business side, like you do in football, to self-scout, to try to figure out what the demographics are, what people are angry about. Is it a subset of people? Is it what? Because everyone has a different reason why they don't show up to the game and use their tickets. Now, you can point at 4 or 5 things.
This didn't all happen overnight.
Right, exactly.
Let's make very clear, because you and I talked about this even going back to like 2014. It wasn't dramatic, but you absolutely saw more empty purple seats during games. And I still think some of this could even go back to when they stopped holding training camp in Westminster. That absolutely. Now, I understand the reason why they did it. I have no issue from an operational standpoint of why they did it. But that was such a valuable opportunity for them to touch their fans. Kevin Byrne, I remember him talking about it the day that they made that announcement, that they lost that. That was a lot of credit that they had built up over that time and linked to the past with the Colts, and Bisciotti talking about how he would go out and see the Colts. That was lost. And that's not to say that doomed them, but you get to this point now where you have had a lull, where you've missed the playoffs 4 out of 5 years. That was absolutely a goodwill PR asset for them that they could, that they had just built up over the years, and they lost that. And you remember what it was like back in 2011, 2012 when they made that announcement. There were a lot of people that were really hurt about that. Now, do I think that's what's led to 30,000
Well, then Ray Rice, cold cocked his wife in an elevator. And they lied about it. Everybody lied. The perception was everybody. Look, I'll hear it all out.
Sure.
I've dedicated my life to doing this. You have as well, and reporting on sports. You have a 1:30 Friday afternoon press conference. For a guy like me in the industry I'm in, it says to me, like, why are you having it at all? I mean, I'm not saying you should be excited about having a press conference.
The league mandates that you have a press conference with your decision makers.
Right.
An end-of-season press conference.
And now, if you look at the media policy, it's a little bit tricky because it says head coach and or general manager and or team president and or owner. So,
and John was already available.
And John talked.
If Steve wanted to squirm out of this, he could have squirmed out of it a long time ago.
Right.
Because plenty of them, the owners have. I am not thinking Steve is squirming. I'm thinking like the fans want something very, very. The pissed off fans want something very, very direct, and this feels not as directed as I thought.
But everybody's going to parse everything he says, so you want to make sure that whatever message and bullet points he's going to deliver on Friday, that they have those down and ready to go.
This is a really important thing, I guess. This is a really important thing.
Anytime the owner speaks, it's important.
I want to go back to something you said because I think it brings up an interesting point. And Chris, I want to get your perspective as a guy who has plenty of experience in PR. You mentioned about the fans, and it's one thing to have media. And look, media is an extension of the fans, at least hypothetically it should be. But I've talked about this idea with a couple people. And it's not something, it's not rocket science or anything. What about the idea, especially considering you have such a passionate, emotional reaction to the protest, whatever list of items you want to throw out there that fans are unhappy about, whether they're ticked off or whether they're just concerned. And I think there's different levels of that. What about the idea of some kind of a town hall kind of situation? And I don't know how you would facilitate it. I don't know if you open up the club level at the stadium. I don't know if you have a lottery for season ticket holders. And you know what? I wouldn't make it like a big, have a huge meal. Or I would make it, hey, we're going to serve coffee. We'll have some refreshments. You fans are concerned. You season ticket holders are concerned. Ask the owner some questions. We're gonna make it a town hall kind of thing. Is there something? Is there some value to that in the same way that? And I know it's a different animal because Green Bay, it's the stockholders meeting.
Right.
But something along those lines. Is there some value to that when you're talking about something that's unfolded so in such a dramatic way with the empty seats this year?
I mean, to me, it's almost like this would be akin to a natural disaster or a Detroit business situation where the city just burns to the ground and half the people are gone. The fan base. I'm literally that's the way the Ravens game days felt for me, and all I could think about is this team's competitive. This team's it's decent.
And I'm still not convinced that's permanent, by the way. Even the people that are ticked off about the protest, I'm not convinced that that's.
I think people that were ticked off at the protest were beating on their chest so loud and so hard that they can't even afford to save face and go back.
I'm not going to characterize people. I mean, people can feel how they want to feel about something, but I'm not convinced that all of those people that are saying that's the reason why they're not going to go to games anymore or watch a team anymore, I'm still not convinced that that's
I'm wondering
permanent.
Who's going to go to the games. That's what I'm wondering.
Well, and also, and two, you've got to sell those season tickets. If the season tickets or the PSLs or whatever the season tickets.
Well, the PSLs expire, then you lose money. So now you're even more acrimonious toward the team.
But that's my whole point. Are they truly? And I know some people have.
Well, this goes back 22 years when they get the fish hook in your lip, right?
Yeah.
Because in 1996, I'm like, there'll never come a point where I wouldn't want to buy tickets.
If people decide they're going to take that sunk investment and they can financially, they're willing to do that. That's their prerogative. But I'm still not convinced all the people who say that they're going to do that are necessarily going to follow through with that. But getting back to the who's going to the games, and if it's not them, then who? That's where it gets back to where my focus has been. Because look, I can tell you all of my personal beliefs about the protesting and all of that. Most people have their minds made up at this point,
right?
And it's just a matter of, I don't know if damage control is the right way to put it, but I don't even know if you can do that, because damage control to one side is insulting and offensive to the other side, and some people have even talked about this, that people, as far as attendance, everyone's assumed that it's been about players kneeling and people not coming because of that, but there are people that have theorized that the whole Colin Kaepernick thing has turned a lot of people off, as far as him being blacklisted and not having a job this year. There are theories about that. I don't know what the percentage is. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. I'm not sure if anyone is. But
I just feel like the Ravens have a bigger problem. And look, I go around the league and I talk to writers in other places. Most other places, when I talk to people in Cincinnati, they've always had empty seats. When I talk to people in Atlanta, they've always had empty seats. When I talk to people in New Orleans, they mostly have had empty seats because they had 90,000 of them, right? So this empty seat thing,
it's new territory for the Ravens.
For us. I mean, even Pittsburgh, over the last 10 years, over 10 years go up there. There are always empty seats in Pittsburgh. And it's a smaller stadium and a way bigger fan base than our nationally and just generally, right?
I mean, it's not 25 or 30,000, but there's empty seats.
There's always, right. So that notion that we had this special thing, much like the Orioles did in 92, 93, 94, where every seat was taken every game, all the time, and you think like it's always going to be that way. Certainly with the Ravens, we have never given a blink of a moment of thought in the 20 years that I've owned this radio station that, well, they can't sell their tickets or they can sell them and nobody will even come and sit in there for free, which happened to by my check, about 250,000 tickets this year, give or take. 250,000 tickets. 250,000 tickets for not a 1-15 team,
right?
Not Cleveland where it was 0-13, not a team that was out of it with Joe Flacco with a broken leg in Week 6. A team that was very much in it, playing a playoff-style football game against the former Baltimore Colts in Baltimore, and no one wanted to come to the game. So there should be. If I pose this as the question to Steve Bisciotti, and I'll end the segment with this, say, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
What's your plan, dude? I'll leave it at that. How about that?
We'll come back I think that's where they're trying to figure out what that message is going to be.
I have no second question, because all the football questions would be for Ozzie and John and for football people.
But I still think it's. What are you going to do other than win? I mean, like, and
there
look,
you go. Right. That's what he's going to talk about.
There are little things you can do. I talked to you about this on the flight to Minnesota. Remember, they used to give out rally towels and car flags and stuff like that. This past year, they had one giveaway. It was the New Year's glasses that, quite frankly, were really lame.
Mine broke.
Right. And
they weren't big enough for my head.
So there's little things you can do like that, but ultimately the biggest thing, and I know they can't control it ultimately, but as much of it as they can as far as revamping how they evaluate players or investing more in the offense, I think that's the one thing that they have not the most control over, because, again, I know you got to play the games, but I don't know if there's some magic I don't think there's a magic nursery rhyme that Steve Bisciotti can utter that's going to make everyone sing kumbaya as far as how you feel about the protest.
There's not. And the other thing, too, I think we may have mentioned this at one point, was if you bought, and I think you raised this, if you bought PSLs and you were in your early 30s, let's say, and you had disposable income,
you're getting towards your late 50s now.
Right. Now priorities change. After 22 years, the club is in a little bit of a transition of fan base. Because the folks that were the diehard Colts fans are now well up into their, probably 60s, 70s.
I never thought there was a point where I bought my PSLs in 1996 and I would be alive in 2018 and my son would be alive and well, and at 33 just not want to go to the games. My son likes it better on TV, like a lot of people's age.
And a lot of these issues are around the league.
Right, yeah. That's all 32 teams. But the Ravens are in a bit of a fan transition here of people who have spent, if you added up how much money you've spent in PSL and tickets, Nestor,
I'd have a hut in Tahiti.
Right, and a lot of people look at that, and when you get into your 50s and early 60s, is that important to you to continue to spend that kind of money?
And the other part is we'll go to the game when we want. Because the Pikas have 2 extra tickets and they can't get rid of them, right? Or whatever.
And at this point, the secondary market's very, very reasonable. I mean, I can pick out – I can sit here right now and say, you know what? I don't want to invest to have all 10 games, especially the 2 preseason games that I don't even want to go to for free.
And my kid plays soccer every other Sunday.
Right, so you know what? I'll go to the Pittsburgh game every year, and I'll go
when it fits.
But I want to ask one question because I don't know the answer to this question. What were your single game tickets cost in '96?
$35.
So times 10. So your ticket investment was $350 per ticket.
Correct. $700. My PSLs were the 5. I paid $1,000 for 2 PSLs, and my season tickets were $700.
So now let's take that to 2017.
My season tickets are $85 a ticket. They're $850. My book's $1,700.
Okay. Times 22 years. And so, over time, that number's
gotten... Well, they're
never
going to be cheaper theoretically.
Right, but I'm just saying that the amount of money doesn't go down.
You live in Atlanta where they give dollar hot dogs away. Right. Hey, look, I got a break, man. I want to give a shout-out. We're going to be here all week.
We solved other problems, right?
That's right. Exactly.
We're going to be out on Facebook Live and Twitter Live. We are at the Mall of America. Yes, this is a real mall behind me. Yes, that's the real Chris Pika, Luke Jones. You can find Chris anywhere Blog and Tackle travels. He's down out here freezing with the rest of us. It's 10 degrees outside, but it's 72 in here. It's all brought to you by Howard Bank, our friends at Royal Farms. Real fresh, real fast. Back with us, of course, Pizza John's, where I've brought my cup that I'm going to be drinking my libations out of on the air all week. I got down there for some pizza. We got a lot here at the Mall of America. They don't have a Pizza John's. Believe me, you got to go to Essex for that. One location, 50 years. Like WNST, one location, 20 years. Maryland Jockey Club, cure your winter blues. Get on out there. See our friends at Laurel. They're open this weekend. You can learn more out there with the Maryland Jockey Club. All sponsoring us this week. Then we got our usual suspects. The buyatoyota.com audio vault will be there for everything we do. We got about a dozen Hall of Famers coming in here this week. That'll be good as well. Of course, the morning newspaper ships to your email inbox free of charge and powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life, guaranteed. Dennis will break news. I don't know if we're going to have any breaking news in the Steve Bisciotti press conference, but I'm sure on Wednesday night, in the middle of the night, when the Orioles deal Manny Machado and Luke's on his, 5th craft beer and his, second a sandwich of...
Tim Beckham back to shortstop then.
There you go. We'll text that out to you. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford, Security Boulevard. Dennis will still be here on Thursday from 3 until 5, getting you ready for Super Bowl 52. I'm Nestor. He's Chris. That's Luke. We'll all be hanging around here, doing it on the internet and Facebook Live and our YouTube WNS TV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.